Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show. Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short-track, door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com.
Danica Patrick on the pole. Harvick wins a fan-controlled Sprint Unlimited. Short-track cars on a super speedway short track. ARCA rolls last week. The trucks, nationwide, cup cars still on tap. Speed Week 2013 is here with events for 8 straight days. Larry Woody has the answers along with our special guests, Deborah Renshaw Parker and Mason Mingus. Coming up next on an extended edition of Pit Pass.
Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show. From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or at usamotorandmachine.com.
Microcasting for your city, Talkopolis.
Well, welcome in, everybody, to this extended version of Pit Pass. I'm Joe Williams along with Larry Woody. Larry, the biggest week of racing of the year, and we bring in some of the biggest folks from around
The
here.
biggest talent.
Well, talent, thank you.
And what timing. We ought to tell viewers that we have been trying to get Deborah Renshaw on the show for some time, and it just turned out that she could work it into her schedule the week of Daytona.
Now,
With what's her name on the pole,
Yeah,
which we'll
what's her
get
name?
into at some point.
Yeah.
Who?
Why is this important? Well, a lot of folks may not realize that as Deborah Renshaw, she was a regular at the fairgrounds back a few years ago, became the first female in the history of the late model stock car division with a pole. Mm-hmm. More importantly, there was a couple of weeks there where she was the very first female in all of NASCAR to ever lead the local point standings.
Yep.
Deborah, welcome in. Thank you for taking the time to come down from Bowling Green.
I appreciate being here. You know, it's an honor to sit in between you two fine gentlemen, and it's an honor to be talking about some local racing and some history making, I guess, if you will.
And again, get viewers caught up on Deborah. You're living in your hometown of Bowling Green, married to Sean Parker.
Yes.
Got 2 lovely little children. Tell the viewers just a little to update where you are.
Well, I mean,
and what
life
you're
does
doing.
move on
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
So, yes, we're living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and we have 2 children, 4 and 9 years old, and racing is continuing in our family. We'll get to that, but have a little women's boutique. Who would ever thought that I would go from racing to owning my own business that happens to be a women's fashion, which I didn't think that would be a possibility, but you know, and a desire to own your own business, as you were talking earlier to Mason about bringing it back home to a college education. It's very important to have those skills, and now I'm able to apply them. But you know, racing. And once you're a racer, you're always a racer, whatever position you are, and you always miss it.
This past Sunday, I guess, knowing the 3 of us, we were probably all watching qualification from Daytona, and I remember Darrell Waltrip saying when Danica Patrick went out early, he said, "Guys, that's a good lap." Did either one of you think that good lap was good enough to hold up?
Deborah, you're the racer.
I mean, let's face it, even from practice. I mean, you know, at a place like Daytona, when you unload, it is what it is. I mean, you know, if there's going to be any changes at all, it's going to be very, very minor changes. I mean, those engineers and those crew guys and Tony Gibson has been working endless hours in the off season, making it what they were going to unload for the big Super Bowl of racing, the Daytona 500.
And that wasn't Danica's first fast lap. She'd been, as you said, Deborah, she'd been fast all week.
Day.
So it wasn't that big of
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, it was in the back of my mind that it's good.
She could do it. It was possible she could do it.
Okay, so I'm sitting out here on an island by myself because my first instinct was, if Danica with this new team can turn that lap, then the Jeff Gordons, the Jimmy Johnsons, the guys who have volumes of information on Daytona are probably going to be that 200ths of a second, which is all the difference in the world there.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah,
Right.
would be that much faster, and they weren't.
You know, I mean, Larry knows as well as I do that, and a lot of race people know that it was a new car. It's the Gen 6 car.
True.
I meant, so let's bring it back down to a little bit more fair playing ground,
True.
if you will, for younger versus more veteran drivers.
Yep.
But also the Trevor Bayne effect. Anything can happen at Daytona. And Larry and I both know that it's a lot of that hard work and dedication from those crew guys in the off season. And as a driver, you know what marks to change your gears, you know what line to hit on the racetrack, you know to get your momentum up, run the high side, and then bring it down at the green flag. I mean, there's just, you know, only a certain amount of things you can do as a driver to make the success of the team pay off, you know, to show, to reflect what your car is.
See, Deborah, the racer, pointed that out better than we could have analyzed it, because pole qualifying at Daytona is about the car, and these are all new cars. You know, Danica has as much experience as Jeff Gordon, Jimmy
Right.
Johnson, Tony Stewart, any of these
100%.
other guys in this particular car. So once again, Deborah, the racer, has made a point that a lot of us kind of overlook, that you know, they don't have these volumes of information to fall back on because
With
it's a
this
new
car.
car.
Start.
That's true.
But having said that, again, I wasn't surprised. I thought she'd be somewhere in the top 10. Having said that, she won the pole and she made history. Your response to the
Huge.
first woman being on.
I
the
meant
pole.
it was a huge deal. It's probably one of, and in my opinion, it's probably one of the biggest days in racing history in a long time.
I think, Deborah, interrupting just quickly, my buddy and I were talking about this. I think Danica winning the pole has gotten more attention and publicity nationwide than any event since Dale Earnhardt's death.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, as I think I heard Mark Martin say it best. Mark Martin said, it's a big deal when Dale Earnhardt Jr. sits on the pole at Daytona. It's a bigger deal when Danica sits on the pole
Made
for the
history,
Daytona 500.
and so much attention focused on her. She's been on all the TV networks, the entertainment shows. Everywhere you look, it's been all 24-hour Danica. I think it's been good for the sport. We'll get into some other aspects of it in a while. But anyway, your response was, like most of us,
It's about time.
Yeah, it's about time.
I mean, it's about time. I mean, I don't mean to be negative on NASCAR by any means, but
Okay.
we've been in the Stone Ages. NASCAR's been in the Stone Ages as far as women in racing for a long time compared to NHRA, sport car racing. You know, even RL a little bit. I mean, so it's about time.
You were the first one at Nashville to win a pole. You were the first one at Nashville to lead the point standings at a time when racing in Nashville was a pretty doggone big deal. Kind of tell me, I'm trying to think what must be going through Danica's mind a little bit. Granted, different levels, if you will, but the pressure, I think, can be the same. What did you feel a lot of pressure?
Absolutely. I mean, I think any driver feels pressure, and when you're trying new things, when you're the first at anything, and I can only speak as being a female in racing, and whenever you're viewed as not just a racer, you're viewed as a woman in racing. It's unfortunate, that's just part of the deal. But when you do something that's for the first time, yeah, it's going to get a lot of exposure. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of extra pressure on you than the normal, probably rookie, like even, not to bring him up, a Ricky Stenhouse. I mean, she's going to have a heck of a lot more pressure on her than a rookie coming in like a Ricky Stenhouse.
And Deborah, what a lot of people didn't understand, the media likes a story about something that's different and unusual, and a female succeeding in what's formerly an all-male sport is what made your story so big at the Fairground Speedway. It's what's made Danica's story so big in the RL and Indy. And let's be completely honest, the feminine factor enters into that, because there have been a few other women entered in at the fairgrounds and in NASCAR Indy that didn't make the splash that Deborah Renshaw made at Nashville and that Danica Patrick has made in her series. And the fact, I think, that the women are attractive and feminine add to the feminine angle, which is sort of why we in the media were covering them to start with. So fairly or unfairly, that does equate to it. Now, having said that, Deborah and Danica aren't just another pretty face on the track. The fact that they're attractive and can do the job in a race car, that's what accounts for this tremendous media coverage. If you had Miss World out there in a race car and she can't get around the track, we're not going to cover her. But if you got an attractive young lady, and she can do the job on the track as Deborah and Danica have been able to do. That combination is what accounts
unfair,
for
but it's true.
Fairly or unfair.
You're both saying then that if they look like a female Russian weightlifter,
that they wouldn't get
matter.
that.
Is that what you're telling me?
And we'll get into this in another
It's
segment.
the world we live in, man. It's sad but true.
And Deborah and I may disagree a little about this. The reason LeBron James was born big and he cashed in on it. Deborah and Danica were born pretty, and I don't have any problem with them cashing in on it. Now we'll debate about how the extent of how much they should or not in another segment.
As a matter of fact, yes, we will.
But the fact is, fairly or unfairly, it is an advantage, and it accounts for some of the media pressure that we put on Deborah when she was racing at the fairgrounds, and some of the pressure that Danica has experienced that she's been in her series.
Looking back, I wouldn't change it for anything, and I'm sure Danica feels the same way. Eventually, she will.
I think you handled it well. As I say, some of the pressure was probably unfair for you to come in as a rookie. We're writing stories about you. The TV people are chasing you around and filming you on pit road and everything.
I agree so much.
But that's the nature of the beast, and I thought you handled it well.
Maybe I'm strange then. I'm going to go ahead and admit this, but by the second year, you were a driver.
Yeah.
That's just
in some people's mind, yeah.
You were a
but
driver.
11
You were
years
good at
ago,
what you did.
11 years ago at the Fairgrounds Speedway, it was a difficult deal, and if it were to happen today in Nashville, it wouldn't be as difficult. But back when no one has ever seen a competitive woman, female racer, whatever you want to call me, it was difficult. I mean, there were points, stares, made fun of me. Thank God I had a good rock to fall on, and my family and friends and people to look through all that craziness and realize at the end of the day that it was a blessing in disguise. And hey, I guess I should say thank you.
Well, it went beyond making fun of you, Deborah. There was actually a conspiracy amongst the male drivers to get you disqualified.
Get your car disqualified. It was a lot worse.
And I would be on the pit road, and I'd hear some of the remarks that were made as you went by. And to NASCAR's credit, when Mike Hilton, NASCAR president, heard about it, he issued a warning to Dennis Graw, the fairgrounds promoter, and said, "This ends today, not this afternoon, not tomorrow. This ends today, or else." Yeah. And at the time, the fairgrounds was a NASCAR-sanctioned track. And to NASCAR's credit and Mike Hilton's credit, I think Mike Deborah even gave you his cell phone number and said, "Any more of this nonsense, you call me."
He did.
So to NASCAR's credit, they put an end to that nonsense.
Even quickly. On the local ranks, yeah, they did.
Right. So Hilton's loving this one. Mike's loving this one.
Mike's probably watching this in Daytona. So, yeah.
Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here. Before we do, though, I'll tell you about my friends out at Nissan of Rivergate. These guys, I've been working with them for a long time, and matter of fact, got 4 of them, one in the parking lot now.
That's the one I backed into, Deborah.
Oh, no, don't tell me that. Not now.
I thought I heard the alarm going off.
You know what? That's okay. Because you did. They've got a great collision center. They'll have it fixed up in no time and have it done right. So, Larry,
what a segue.
Give me your insurance information. We'll go to Rivergate here in just a few minutes. Coming up next, we'll talk more with Deborah about Danica. And, you just got to hang on to see this one. We'll be back on Pit Pass.